Man, you probably like me wondering when all this stuff is going to be over, right? However, as a boss, you don't need to let things dictate terms to you. Sometimes you can just get away when you need to. And what's the first step? Well, we're going to cover that today. The first step is writing your very first business plan. We're going to get into that right now. Welcome back to all my bosses. This is your boy Lascel, the M.B.A, coming at you today with a brand new video. Today's topic is, how do I write my very first business plan? So if this, for my returning subscribers, welcome. And for first-time viewers, this is a forum for the boss community, a designation for people with the entrepreneurial mindset. And if this is your first time joining us, please help your boy out. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the content that's coming down the pipe. Now, as much as anyone who knows me knows, I love my Brooklyn, New York. I love Brooklyn. However, with it being the epicenter of all the stuff that's going on here globally, and especially in the country, I felt the need to get away. And the reason being is because having that boss mentality allows me the option of getting away. But how do I get that boss mentality? How do I get that entrepreneurial mindset? Well, we're going to cover that today. There's a close friend of mine. She loves the content of Lascel, the M.B.A. She loves what we have to discuss and makes it her business to always support what we're doing. However, she sent me a text, which you'll see here, where she actually said to me she loves what we do, but she said, you know, sometimes we need more information. We need something to go in depth, a full tutorial of how to do some of the things that you kind of encourage us to do. So over the next 3 weeks, what I'm going to do is cover 3 very basic principles of things that can help you along your journey to financial freedom or entrepreneurial success. So, with no further ado, let's start off on today's topic. Let's get you started on your very first business plan. Now, before we get started, there's some things I think that are very indicative to a lot of people who are in my community and abroad. We don't want to just make it seem like it's something that afflicts just us. The first thing is, we want you to go into your business plan with a very neutral mind state. The thing of it is this: you have a lot of people who figure that because they have the money or the resources to finance a business out of pocket, that there's no reason for them to be nice, all right? You have a lot of people in our community, a lot of people around the country who their whole concept of starting a business is so that they can become a boss, just to have the title of being a boss. Now, this is the thing I want you to understand. Get rid of that mindset. Be humble. The reason being is because you cannot do this by yourself. Even if you are financially able to do it by yourself, you're going to have to get people who are going to have to buy into certain things. You're going to have to get people who are going to be willing to follow your vision. So the best way to do that is to come in with the mindset of humbleness and saying, I want to achieve a certain goal, which should be the success and the growth of your business. So the first thing is, come off whatever high horse you have, if that is your mindset, and we're going to discuss. Now, let's get to the basics of it. What is a business plan? A business plan is a blueprint. It's a very, very valuable tool. If you are going to have success at your business, this thing here could make or break you having success with business. If you have a great product, great service, you have the finances for it, and have a horrible business plan or business model, it's a very good chance that it will not succeed. Now, the thought process regarding a business plan can vary from whoever is giving you the information and to your own personal genre. Now, I've seen people who have had business plans or are advocates of business plans that are as simple as 1 page. Then there's people who believe, and some of the people I knew in different industries, they would believe that business plans should be as thorough as 40, 50 pages. Me personally, I'm going to make it very simple. I'm going to go more about the content of what's in your business plan and the mindset of your business plan, which is going to make it effective for you. And To add on to that, what we're going to do to put in perspective, because every business plan is different, but to make it resonate with you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a direction to put it in. Let's say that we're going to start a restaurant, just as an example. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply certain principles to the business plan for that restaurant so that it makes sense. Now, it doesn't mean that everything is going to be the same if you go out and start, let's say, a barber shop or a car dealership as a restaurant, but these principles should all be in place. That's why it's kind of shows you how it resonates as opposed to what goes into the business plan itself. So let's start off with one very basic thing. I want you to do three things before you actually start writing your formal business plan. The first thing is you want to get into what's known as a mission statement. Your mission statement is basically saying, what is it that your business is trying to accomplish in the short term? That could be very simple. Let's use the example of a restaurant. You have a fish joint, you have a chicken spot, you have an elegant dining facility that you want to bring to a certain demographic. Now, your mission statement could be very simple. We're going to bring high dining to people of the inner city. Or let's say, for the sake of argument, there's a lot of vegetarians in your community that the certain establishments don't cater to. Or let's say, for the sake of argument, I know very many people who are very big on very high value foods, and they have this phrase called a food desert. And even though there's a whole bunch of KFCs and Popeyes and McDonald's around, that's not what they consider to be true food. So maybe your mission is to bring high quality food to people in the inner city or people of a certain demographic who may not have otherwise access to it. That could be part of your mission statement. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, would not be the whole thing, but this gives you an idea of what your mission should be. The second thing I need you to think about is your vision statement. Now, your vision statement, you might sit back and say, well, mission and vision, they should be the same thing. Wrong. Your mission statement tells you what you're going to do in the present. Your vision statement is going to go a little bit beyond that and tell you what your vision is for that. Like, let's say, for the sake of argument, using that same example of the food desk. Maybe your vision is, in 10 years, I want to have outposts for high value food in inner city communities in all 50 states. That could be a vision. Not really realistic in 10 years time, but it's a great place to start. It's something to aspire to, and it helps you file that blueprint for what you're actually doing. The next thing I want you to do before you actually start formulating your formal business plan is I need you to get the back line and front line in order. What does that mean? You want to conceptualize what this will actually looks like. You would sit back and say, oh, well, I'm gonna start a restaurant, I'm gonna get a place. Now it has to be a lot more specific. You can't pay a bill and say, hey, I paid the light bill, but you in one light company, but you just send a check out to somebody randomly. It has to be very specific. So what you want to do is, where am I going to actually open my establishment? Who is going to actually work for me? What is that going to look like? How are people going to be seated? Who's going to do the layout of the restaurant? Things of that nature. This is the thought process. It doesn't have to be as elaborate as that, but you want to have a basic overview of what your line is going to look like. Because at that point, it becomes a little bit more focused and a little bit more realistic. And then you start working on your points for your business plan. This is when you start writing your formal. At this point, up to this point, everything else is scribbles. You want to make notes, kind of get your head in that mindset. But this is the thing you definitely want to get to before you start writing. And this is where we start writing formally. Overview or title page. The first thing, basically, what is your business name? You want to get down the name of your business structure. What does your company do? Those are the three things you basically want to start establishing that first very important section, because this is what's going to have people take interest in your endeavor. You want to establish what's the name of your business. Very important. That's going to be part of your brand. That's going to be part of your trademark. Then you're going to establish what kind of legal structure you're going to have. There's only 4 types of real businesses, and there's many different hybrids of those. But basically, you have your sole proprietorship, you have your partnership, you have your C Corp, and you have your LLC, which is a limited liability company. Google those things, and you can actually come up with one that appeals to you, depending on what your situation is, how you're being financed. All those things are affected by it, but it's not as complicated as you might actually believe. Third thing you want to come up with is, what does your company do? If your company is going to provide high quality food in terms of the restaurant to people of the inner cities, it's very simple. This is why the thought process goes into this before you start formally writing, because you want to make it very concise. My rule of thumb is, whenever you come up with a business, you think about it long enough that when you are actually pitching it to people, now it's not just to finance people, it's also the people who's going to invest in you, it's also people who are going to give you property or possibly lease stuff for you, it's going to be people who are going to work for you. You should be able to describe your business and your objective in 2 sentences. At least to have them curious about, this sounds like a very, very tantalizing or option or a very great opportunity for myself or for anybody that wants to get involved. That's the mindset you want to go into. The next thing you want to discuss on that first segment is a message. You want to have a message that you basically want to give to stakeholders, which are people in the community or people that are your clients, people who you serve, people who buy your service, people who invest in you, people in the community and government. You want to give this message about what your company, what your business is going to be about. How does it benefit humanity? How does it benefit the community? How does it benefit people just who walking off the stage? What is the walking off the street? What is your overlying ideal for your business? What is your vision? What is your message? This is what you should actually work on. I'm going to give you examples of that as well. And it's going to be linked in the comments below. Feel free to use that template to take a look at it and study it, understand it. The third part of that first segment is going to be your liability structure. What that is this. In most companies, for you to operate, you have to operate, those companies are going to operate in 3 very, very distinct spectrums. There's going to be operations, there's going to be sales and marketing, and there's going to be finance. You cannot operate without those 3 parts of your business. Your marketing and your sales is always going to be driving revenue. Your operation is going to be the product or the service itself, and also geared toward customer satisfaction and making sure that you put out a high quality product. And of course, finance is going to dictate how much money you're spending, what kind of cost you can actually put into each particular service or each time slot that you're giving, or even the product itself. So you're going to have to flesh those out. What portion of the business is going to be operated or covered by each one of those sections? Very important to do. That can dictate success or failure for you. Now that we got through that section, right? Now you're going to be a little bit more specific. The next section will be the marketing or sales aspect of it. Now, once you sit back and you start going through that first section, you're going to see exactly what kind of money you're going to need. So what's going to happen is, at some point, you're going to have to put into marketing, because you can open up a great business, but if no one knows you're there, it's very unlikely they're going to frequent that. So you got to come up with an idea of, one, how much money is spent in that service in your reach of influence. So let's say you want to do something local in the community. Good idea would be to find out how much money do people spend on comparable services, or in this case, food from outside sources in the community. If you want to be a millionaire and the entire market is only run by maybe $50,000, $100,000, just hypothetically, it's impossible to be a millionaire there. So you have to understand how much money is spent so that you can understand how much money and how much profit you intend to make. Secondly, you have to understand who's your market and how much of the market share you intend to penetrate, right? So let's say, for the sake of argument, you're opening up a restaurant in a neighborhood that's saturated with Wendy's, McDonald's, KFC, Popeyes, Dunkin' Donuts, the works. And you have 4 or 5 restaurants there. And you have very limited funds, no influence, no saturation, no marketing plan, whatever. It's going to be very hard for you to actually go out and make a living doing what you do. So you have to take these things in account, put together your marketing plan, understand who these people are, not only how much money is spent, but who's spending the money. If you understand that people who are buying this particular product or who spend the most money are single moms because they're feeding the youngsters and they're coming in trying to take advantage of time and all that, you want to put a marketing campaign toward them. And it doesn't have to be something elaborate. You could spend $200 getting flyers, going to daycares just to target that specific demographic. That could be very effective to you. Ad revenue, campaigns, gift offers, things like that to drive foot traffic into your business. Partner with other people in the community. All that's part of your marketing and your sales. So then when you understand that, then you also understand how much money you need to generate per day to become successful. These are very important things. You got to take into account how much money you're spending in overhead and operations. You have to account how much you're paying in payroll. You have to account how much money you're spending for products. You have to account what gas and light is costing you and your hours of operation. When you break those down on a daily basis, you understand what the amount of money you need in order to be successful. If you spend $1,000 a day, but you make $200 a day, I don't care exactly how good the product is. It could be the best product in the world. If you're doing business that way, you're effectively paying people to use your product or service, and you'll never be successful that way. So understand the point of marketing and sales and how important that is to the success or failure of your business. Next up, operations. Now, what is operations? Operations is what goes on that provides your service or your product to the community. When you do get that person in, when marketing does their job, when sales does their job, when people frequent your business, what are they going to see? At the end of the day, you could have the best commercial in the world, which means marketing is doing its job. You're in a time slot. People are talking about you. There's a buzz. But if they walk into that restaurant and they see people shooting, fighting, whatever case may be, your operations are sucking. Or if they walk in and they hear or they see the menu, and the menu's great, but the quality of that actual food stuff or service sucks, then at that point, your operations are failing you. Understand how you're going to lay certain things out. Another thing, you can have the greatest food in the world. You'll see this and you probably can relate to this. But when you go into the restaurant, it takes you 2 hours to get your food. Operations sucks. You have to make allotments for certain things to make sure that people aren't dealing with wait time that's unusual or that's going to annoy your clients. Make sure that the quality of the product or service is great for your client and for your demographic, and make sure that the experience is something that they're going to actually come back for. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Your operations may be, hey, we're just going to do drive-through service. We're just going to have pickup or delivery service, which eliminates the whole wait time situation. But that's part of the operations. Maybe the experience is not for it. It may become actually beneficial for you to do that. Or there's another way. Hey, we're a restaurant. We want to cater to a family experience, and your operations is all about, we're not going to have a lot of wait time. We're going to make sure that people are going to come in, and if there is a wait time, they will be happy to wait for it because this is a big deal for them. This is how we want to brand ourselves in our restaurant. So there's a way to do that as well. But all of it starts and ends with operations. Trust me on that one. And if your operations suck, you won't be in business long. Now let's talk money. Finance. Finance is more important than anything else because you could have the greatest business in the world, but you could not have enough money to last you to get your business fully up to par. All right? So what happens is this in finance. Finance will dictate how much money you can spend on services, who you can pay, how long you can be at a location. Everything comes down to finance. So you have to be very specific. When you make your business plan, especially your financial plan, what's going to happen is this. You have to take everything into account. You're not going to do that for a month. You're not going to do it for 4 or 5 months. Look in, and you can Google these things. It's very easy to find. If you're running a business per se, you can Google for the area that you're in, how long it takes for those businesses to become profitable. If you figure that it takes 2 or 3 years for a restaurant in your area to become profitable, then at that point you make a business plan for 2 or 3 years. That business plan includes keeping the lights on, keeping the staff paid, making sure that you have a physical place to actually run your business, supplies for your business, because Lord knows the worst thing in the world is actually going into a restaurant and you get your dinner, but they don't have simple stuff like forks and spoons and all that other stuff. These are the things you need to plan for. No matter how big that number is at the end of it. Oh, and let's not forget, you have to pay yourself. Nobody's going to invest in any company where you have everything looking like this, looking great on the bottom line, but you don't make a salary. At that point, when you see that big number on the bottom of it, believe me, it's not going to be intimidating. Don't get intimidated by that. What's going to happen is this. Let's say for the sake of argument, you need $3 million to get this business up and running for 2 or 3 years, just hypothetically. If that business has a plan financially to make $7 million over the course of that same time span, you're going to get people's attention. That's called your return on investment, people. So understand really what you're looking at. You want to put everything into that business plan. Everything from gas money to, lights, ketchup packets. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to make sure it's there so there's accounted for. Because the worst thing in the world is you're having great success. You're moving along at a nice clip. And realistically, you're going to run out of business in 2 months and you haven't become profitable. Not a good thing. Businesses have died long before that. That's why they say most businesses don't last within the first year. They don't become profitable within the first 3 to 5 years. Long-term plans. Now, the last section I really want to cover in this overall first business plan is goals. Realistically, when we talk about target markets, market share, things of that nature, you need to set goals. The goals are going to tell you what your thresholds are. Your thresholds are the things that's going to tell you we're doing something right or we're doing something wrong. So your goals could be, okay, listen, we're going to open up now. We understand it's going to be slow. How do we drive traffic here? What do we expect our sales to look like over the next month or 2 months? These are called projections. Maybe in the first month, you're only going to make $3,000. Maybe in the first 2 months, you anticipate you're going to make $4,500 to $5,000. You should have an upward progression because your sales threshold or your financial threshold is going to dictate when you have to retool. You should always factor that kind of time in. In 2 or 3 months, we're going to look over all our sales, see where we've been successful, where we have failed, where we could do better, and then you're going to retool and constantly fold that information in on itself so that your business actually is doing well. This is all laid out in your business plan. Now that we've got no segments out, there's going to be a few things we definitely need to cover that may also be factored in by you, or at least should be factored in by you. Now, there's a lot of things we could cover in this video that I've been covering from recent videos, and one of them was how to start your business fast. Look below in the comments. I'll leave the link for that video as well, which will cover such topics as DBA and marketing and things of that nature. But one of the things we're going to go into next is some of the incidentals. Like, for instance, you want to also be mindful of competition. All right? Your competitive analysis is going to be very important. For all intents and purposes, the example I gave before of starting a restaurant in between a McDonald's, Popeyes, etc., is not something that you would want to go toward. That might not be the best idea, considering the fact that they have most likely greater resources than you and brand recognition that you have to compete with. So you might want to rethink that. But here's a short list, which I will also include in the comments below, that you need to go over before you finish up and polish up your business plan. These 8 things that I'm going to give to you, you must take into account. Let's start here. If you actually do those things, if you actually look over this video and say, hey, I'm serious about starting my business, or at least fleshing out the idea of my business, then what's going to happen is you're going to be much more prepared to actually take that first step, start investing money, start investing resources, start getting people to buy into your vision. That's the first step. And this is the thing I want you to understand. Every business that starts out does not become successful in this first incarnation. But here's the thing. You cannot lose. Understand what I'm saying to you. I will repeat it again. You cannot lose by starting up your business. Even if it's not successful, you can retool it, and you have the experience of becoming an entrepreneur and knowing what it takes to actually make it work. If you become successful, obviously you're going to get much more revenue and a lot more freedom to do what you need to do, at least in the decision-making process. Maybe not in time, but actually in success and job satisfaction. You will actually be doing something that makes a difference today. And let's call it what it is. When you start doing those things, you start feeling like a boss. You start looking like a boss. Start thinking like a boss. Or you could start acting like a boss. Or even better. Or of course, to entertain like a boss. Or working no play, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you've written your very first business plan. Kudos and congratulations to you. You're one step closer to being that business owner and on that path to making something happen. As always, please, if this resonates with you, help a brother out. Make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe. Be sure not to miss any of our information as it comes out, released every Monday for my boss community. And in part, as always, if it ain't about $1, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't make a bit of sense. Stay safe, take care of each other. Until I see you next Monday, your boy Lascel, the M.B.A. I'm out.